Hi there, everybody. I'm Ron DeLegge with ETF Battles. Welcome to the program where it's okay to talk smack so long as you can defend yourself. Today's ETF Battle is a clash for the ages. It's gold versus Bitcoin. We've got the SPDR Gold Shares, ticker symbol GLD, versus the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, that's ticker symbol GBTC. And as you're about to find out, GBTC is a lot less Bitcoin and a lot more of something else, namely Barry Silbert's pet rock. This is a $5 billion monstrosity. Come on, don't be offended, Barry. This is the correct format for critiquing the investment worthiness of cute products like GBTC. This battle hasn't even started, and I'm already pretty biased. I think I've got no less than 500, but it's okay to be biased so long as you have the correct bias. And that's one of the goals of this program, to help you have the correct bias. A quick shout out to Sean K, Super Steelers, Jana Lee. We've got Yankees fan EMJ, Juicebox TM, and of course our regulars, Javier Jimenez, Good Guy 2, and David Starr, along with the many others tuning into the program. We appreciate your viewership and loyally watching the program. Dee Cerrone says that she loves ETF Battles, but finds the buzzers and the bells highly annoying. Sorry about that, Dee Cerrone. Can we get some more bells and buzzers, please? We need some extra ones for Dee Cerrone. You can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. Sorry about that, Dee Cerrone. We also have a message from Alex Smith, who wants us to review ticker symbol SWAN, SWAN. Thank you, Alex, for reaching out. Here's the deal. We don't do single ticker breakdowns on ETF Battles. So if you want us to examine SWAN on this program, you'll need to give us another ETF ticker for it to go against, and we'll see if it makes the cut. Helping us to judge today's matchup is David Kreinces with ETF Portfolio Management, and we've got Mike Akins, CEO of ETF Action. Judges, it's great to see you again. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Ron.
Thanks, Ron. Good to see you.
So we got 4 battle categories. We got cost, exposure, strategy, performance. We've got our mystery category where you, the judges, can pick one factor or several factors that you think are important to today's matchup. I've got my scorecard, and as you can see there, it's blank, and I'm going to fill it out real-time live as we go through today's scuffle, and we're going to give each one of you 30 seconds to go through each one of these battle categories. We're going to basically, you're going to pick GLD or GBTC as the winner. You can also declare a split decision if you feel that no ETF or no product has an edge or advantage. So we're going to begin with Dave. Dave, the first category is cost. You've got 30 seconds. Go.
Well, the expense ratio for GLD is 0.4%, and Bitcoin Trust has a 2% cost. So GLD is much cheaper. But you're buying two very different things here. Gold and Bitcoin are both in the alternative asset class category, where investors look for broader diversification than just stocks and bonds. And when choosing alternative investments, cost is rarely the biggest factor. So the win on cost does go to GLD, but it's just not a main factor.
Okay, GLD is the winner. That's a good start. Let's shift to you. Mike, what's your take on cost? Who wins the battle?
I'm in line with Dave. Absolute. There's no doubt that GLD is a much more efficient vehicle. I would throw on top of that GBTC is a closed-end, so it's going to trade at premiums and discounts, and that's really important to know. So while it's tracking Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin, the demand and supply dynamic of the trust can create very large premiums or discounts. And just if you're going to invest in this vehicle, understand that premium discount and how it might affect over time. So I give you an example. Right now, I think it's trading at a 10% premium. If a more efficient vehicle came out to market to invest in Bitcoin, it would not be surprising to see that discount or that premium disappear overnight, and that would be 10% of the value of your investment. So just something to keep an eye on with that vehicle. But winner in this case is GLD. It's a more efficient way to gain access through a investment vehicle.
All right. Thank you very much. That's some solid analysis. And that leads us to the next battle category, which is exposure strategy. And we're going to stick with you, Mike. You kind of alluded to some of the particulars of GBTC. So continuing that thought.
Yeah, so exposure, I mean, the thing here is there's no real diversification aside, right? The idea is you're getting access to you're providing efficiency to gain access to either gold, which in GLD's case is held in a vault for you on your behalf, and you can trade it on the exchange at a very cheap and reasonable cost and gain access in that portfolio. Whereas Bitcoin, same idea with GBTC, and rather than owning a digital coin wallet and actually holding Bitcoin, which would be probably the best way to own it right now. And just as a side note, why there's not an ETF out there for Bitcoin yet blows my mind. Not that I'm for it or against it from an investment perspective, but there's no reason it wouldn't work as an ETF, and it'd be a much more efficient vehicle. But to that extent, with GBTC, you're just getting access to that vehicle. So really comes down to what do you want to own here? And that, I think, is the bigger question. GLD obviously has a much longer track record as being a safe haven asset, a diversifier within a portfolio. But the principles of the two are very, very similar in that they're finite assets that should have a lower correlation to the broad market over time. I think that given the show that we're talking on here and talking about it in terms of portfolio construction, I give the win to GLD just because of history. But I think from a speculative asset and the mechanics, there's reason to be interested in understanding Bitcoin a little bit further and exploring that.
Well said. Let's shift to you, Dave. How do you see it when it comes to exposure strategy for GLD versus GBTC?
Well, as Mike explained, GLD gets you efficient exposure to gold, and GBTC is the only exchange-traded security that enables you to own Bitcoin cryptocurrency in a traditional investment account. However, GBTC is not an ETF. It's a trust. It trades over the counter, and it has that price premium variable that can change widely. So all of that said, the Bitcoin Trust still has far greater long-term potential due to Bitcoin's efficiency, functionality, and supply dynamics. So I'll give the win on strategy to GBTC.
Look at that. Going nouveau on us. I like it. Okay, so let's move to performance now. And performance is obviously something everyone wants to know and looks at, but it's not the only factor, but it is a key factor. Dave, we're going to stick with you. Who wins the battle in terms of performance between GLD and GBTC?
Well, over the past 5 years, GLD delivered 55%, which was far behind the S&P gain of 74%. However, over the same period, GBTC gave you a shocking 23 times your money. This Bitcoin Trust return was actually 31 times the S&P. In fact, GBTC even outperformed the American Dream ETF TQQQ. So clearly the performance win goes to the Bitcoin Trust. However, alternative assets can be extremely volatile, and GBTC did lose 82% in 2018. So be very careful and cautious with alternative risk assets like Bitcoin or gold.
I can't believe that. Something actually beat TQQQ. You got to be kidding me.
Well, it's still 5 years. We'll see how the 10-year data shakes out, but it's a good sign for Bitcoin bulls for sure.
All right, let's shift to you, Mike. How do you see it in terms of performance between these two products?
I'm going to give it a split decision, and I'll tell you why. From an absolute basis, there's no question. Bitcoin, from a long-term dynamics, if Bitcoin delivers what it says it can deliver, and that's a big if. I still believe that there's a lot of things that needs to be proven out with respect to how it operates. But from that perspective, there's no question it has a higher upward return potential. But from a risk-adjusted perspective, GLD adds significant more value, in my opinion, currently. Both a lower correlation to the broader equity markets, so as a diversifier and a risk adjuster within a portfolio currently, I would have to give the nod to GLD. But fully recognize that if you're looking for pure upside potential, if Bitcoin works as it says, we're in the early days of where it can go.
Let's move to the mystery battle category. This is where our judges can pick that one factor or several factors that they think are important to this particular matchup. Mike, what is your mystery category and who is your winner?
So a mystery category, I think, is this idea of currency and using understanding currency. So one, I do not believe that GLD gold is an efficient currency. It's been talked about as a currency forever. And long ago, when people exchanged gold coins, that made sense. Bitcoin does have a lot of applications as a currency, especially if you think about it in terms of third world markets that have hyperinflation with regard to their own currencies and looking for a better value of trust. It's also much easier to understand how one would spend Bitcoin as a digital currency. But the mystery category is who is behind Bitcoin. And, I always like to think of my history books and, is this potentially the biggest Trojan horse of all times? And we really don't know who's controlling this. I'm not saying that's the case, but the bigger question here on the mystery category for me is the mechanics of Bitcoin and the safety of it as an asset. So I'm going to give the mystery category to GLD because I know what it is. It's tangible. And for me, that means something.
Okay. Let's shift to Dave. Do you agree with Mike's analysis? What's your mystery battle category and who wins it?
Before I get to my mystery battle category, I would just say that, on a risk-adjusted basis, I agree with everything Mike's saying, except I view the 23 times return versus the 55% in GLD to be compensation for those issues. But for the mystery category, the position weighting is always my mystery category because it helps you keep the right portfolio mix long-term. And at ETF PM, we often cap exposure to these types of alternative investments at 5 to 15%, while many investors would cap them far lower between 1 to 5%. But given the strong outperformance in Bitcoin and the incredible potential for technology applications long-term, I'll give the position weighting win to GBTC.
Okay. So your mystery battle category winner is GBTC. And let's now give our judges one final opportunity to weigh in on their overall winner. Dave, you're still up. Who is your overall battle winner between these two products, GLD and GBTC?
Well, to recap, GBTC strongly outperformed gold, and it even beat the American Dream ETF. So the Bitcoin Trust wins this battle easily. However, GBTC is extremely volatile, and the trust structure does include the varying premium. So investors should begin with a super small satellite allocation and proceed very cautiously.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And now it's your last opportunity, Mike, to weigh in on your overall winner. How do you see it?
It's really difficult for me. I kind of have to put this one as a split decision because I do believe there could be long-term huge upside to GBTC, or let's just call it Bitcoin. From an application perspective, as exchange get more efficiency to it, I do believe there's long-term applications for this. And as a result, it's so early in its infancy that as demand grows, the returns potentials could be very large. But I also believe, just like any great penny stock, it could also be zero. So that's something to keep in mind with Bitcoin as a result of a long-term allocation. GLD, I think, has a proven history of being a less correlated safe haven asset. Whether that is functionally accurate from what GLD serves from a purpose doesn't really matter. The long-term history is there, and the long-term demand presence of how gold works is there. So from a portfolio diversifier, I give it to GLD. As a pure return stream and a flyer, I think GBTC, I don't even say it's a flyer. I think it's a long-term opportunity, but comes with significant risks. So it's a split decision. I'm sorry. I'm out of my league on this one.
and I think you raise a good point too, Mike. There may be something better that comes along in the ETF world that does a better job, that more accurately tracks and measures the price of Bitcoin. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's definitely fair to say. From a GBTC perspective, I expect a much more efficient vehicle. I think eventually it's some sort of exchange-traded product, if not an exchange-traded fund, an exchange-traded product. But I also think there's a better potentially solution than Bitcoin. there might be a better digital currency, and that could take away the opportunity of Bitcoin as an investment. So that's another area why I think it's so speculative.
Yeah. And very good. Well, our judges weighed in, and according to our battle scorecard, this is a split decision. Our judges agreed on cost. Everything else you guys had differing opinions on, from exposure strategy to performance to the mystery category, the overall winner. So I think both of you raised some excellent points. I think both of these assets, gold and Bitcoin, have merit. They're kind of based on, when you think about it, kind of the same thesis of the fact that you're looking for an alternative, a store of wealth to the US dollar, which is what gold and Bitcoin is all about. I mean, the origins of Bitcoin itself, that was the founding of the beginning of why Bitcoin even started, was as an alternative to all of the massive government debt and fiat currencies that are with us. So we appreciate, again, our judges weighing in and giving us their take on this very interesting battle. I didn't expect it to turn out this way, and I'm glad that we went through it. We appreciate all of our viewers for tuning in. And which ETF battles would you like to see on our next episode of ETF Battles? Be sure to hit us up on Twitter. At ETFguide is where you find us. Be sure to hashtag ETF Battles. You can also send us your comments in the comment section below. Give us your ticker symbols and hashtag ETF Battles. I'm Ron DeLegge with ETFguide TV. Thanks for watching.